Live from the world headquarters of RT America in our nation's capital, this is the news with Rick Sanchez.
And hello again, everybody. I'm Rick Sanchez. We're going to show you some images tonight that are kind of tough to look at. They represent what it's actually like right now to be an average citizen in some parts of China, especially places like the city of Wuhan, from where the majority of coronavirus cases have emanated. Now, you see that right there? See that image? That's an elderly man, and he's being dragged away by police in protective suits. They see him, they get out of their cars, they drag him into a paddy wagon and take him away. We've got the entire video. We're going to share it with you in just a little bit in a report by Michelle Greenstein, that story that she's been working on for us throughout the day. Now, I got another image. Take a look at this thing right here. Look at this. Here's a frustrated motorist who I guess is at her wit's end, man, and she just drives her car into a police tent set up to try and monitor and detain people who either aren't wearing their masks or are simply not abiding by emergency health and safety measures. Again, we've got the entire video, and we're going to be sharing that with you in just a bit. But as we look at these, right, we need to ask, what are the underlying conditions there right now? How difficult must it be to live in a place where no one's allowed in or out? And before we get all caught up questioning the behavior of these people, these citizens, or these police officers, I think it would behoove us to ask ourselves this: how would we act? How would you act? How would I act if we were faced with that same situation? You know, it's important to note that there's a new threshold to report tonight as well. Just a few hours ago, the coronavirus killed its 2,000th victim. 2,000. It's a number really that's still small, considering that it's infected more than 75,000. And of those, 74,000 of those, by the way, they live in China. So we're going to drill down on the images of what it's like for the people of Wuhan, right here on the news with Rick Sanchez, where we believe, yeah, it really is time to do news again. Okie doke, here's the list of the questions we think you'll be asking tomorrow. What do newly released videos from inside Wuhan tell us about living with the coronavirus? Is Turkey's Erdogan growing stronger with his threats and attacks in Syria? We're going to show you what we mean by that. Are Native Americans right to be outraged over a pipeline through their land? But I want to go ahead and begin this newscast tonight with a look at these videos that are coming in from China. We've heard a lot of reporting and, frankly, a lot of rhetoric coming out of China and all over the world. But, you know, they do say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. In this case, it may be more than 1,000. Assembling this video story now for us is News with Rick Sanchez correspondent Michelle Greenstein.
In the epicenter of the novel coronavirus outbreak, the city of Wuhan, the streets are almost deserted, with just a few shops still operating. Seen here with this footage taken on Sunday. The city is on lockdown to prevent the spread of the virus, and has been since January 23rd. Even in cities like Shenzhen, the technology manufacturing hub that borders Hong Kong, almost 600 miles away from Wuhan, the streets are relatively quiet. These images, which were taken last Tuesday, show barren main roads and empty schools, with people only now slowly returning to their normal working schedules. Footage posted to Telegram last week appears to show a man arriving at work. He has his temperature read, is told to dispose of his mask in a garbage can, is given hand sanitizer and a new mask before being allowed to sign in, get credentialed, get another dose of hand sanitizer, and finally go to work. According to the Wall Street Journal, masks are mandatory in at least 2 provinces in China, including in the city of Wuhan. According to local reports, China's producing around 600,000 masks each day, as medical workers are required to change their face masks every few hours. This is footage taken Monday from inside a Shanghai factory, where workers are producing masks with the help of machines and packaging them for use throughout the country. Production is being ramped up due to panic buying, and additional workers have been recruited to meet the skyrocketing demand. In addition to mask manufacturers, business is also booming for Chinese food delivery companies, as people are now reluctant to leave their homes. And how does the food get delivered? Well, sometimes through windows, as seen in this video reportedly taken in Hubei province. Overall, demand for online vendors has surged since Beijing told the public to stay home. E-commerce giant JD says that rice sales are up 20 times from a year ago.
Before, most customers bought more electronic products, but now they buy things like rice noodles, grains and oils, and disinfectants, masks and other protective goods.
Here, one can see JD employees in masks and gloves sorting packages containing goods like food and toilet paper and spraying them with disinfectant yesterday.
We used to deliver goods to the front doors of our customers. Now, in order to protect customers and protect the safety of the residents of their entire community, we choose to deliver the goods to the entrance of the building. Customers come to the entrance to pick up their goods to prevent any direct contact.
But when the occasional in-person exchange does happen, it's facilitated with caution. Here, someone dressed as a medical worker appears to take a man in a van against his will, commanding him, "Come with us, come with us." This video was posted to Telegram with the caption, "A skirmish with firearms in Hubei province." Residents opposed blocking doors to their homes as a measure to limit the spread of the epidemic. And this video, posted to Telegram today, reportedly shows a scene in Beijing where a person, frustrated with the police presence and restrictions on movement due to the outbreak, gets into a car and plows into law enforcement officers. Back in Hubei province, where Wuhan is the capital and largest city, most buildings and roads remain blocked. While the spread of the virus is slowing overall, the situation in Hubei province remains severe. Here, Chinese military transport teams are seen getting on trucks to deliver food and supplies to people in Wuhan yesterday. The government has directed everyone to install a Wuhan Neighbors applet downloaded from WeChat for people to report if they develop a fever to the network as soon as possible. Then the system immediately locates and registers the address as a quarantine zone. The app also allows one to arrange for a car to get them to the hospital and tracks your treatment, discharge, and even your death. For the News with Rick Sanchez, Michelle Greenstein, RT.
Joining us now is Christy I, for a couple of reasons. First of all, experientially, you have a lot to say about what's going on in China culturally to make us understand this story. So let's go through these videos one at a time. Here's this first one. In this first video, Christy, we see people in offices using poles with baskets on the end. What's going on here? What does this tell us?
It shows the lengths that people are going to avoid contamination, because a lot of these workers are factory workers. So even though nobody wants to go out, some of them have to go to factories because they rely on it to fulfill their daily paycheck needs. They have to, or else they wouldn't be able to put food on the table. So these workers that work paycheck to paycheck, they actually have to go. But in order to do so, they have to take certain precautions, hence the face masks, hence the hand sanitizers every single hour, hence trying to avoid human contact with other people, so using these baskets.
That's amazing.
Also, if you look at the restaurants are taking this a full step further. They're putting up these barriers in between tables, because these restaurant owners are also losing a ton of money. These small business owners, they're losing a ton of money without customers and traffic. So what they did is they erected barriers so people can have individual little cubicles to actually eat their meals.
Let me take you through this next video, and this one's kind of heartbreaking. A little old man is sitting in a chair. Suddenly, two police officers in these suits come, drag him away and throw him in the back of what looks like a paddy wagon. My heart goes out to him. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so the story behind this one was actually because the old man was not wearing a face mask while exposing himself to public. If he was confined in his own home, he can walk around without a face mask. But there has been an issued a nationwide decree that if you are out in public and there are people around you, you have to be wearing a face mask. That is mandatory in order to avoid further spread. So this is a violation of a public service.
It's a public welfare issue.
It is a public welfare and a public service.
And as horrible as it is to see it here in America, we're used to, the protection of our rights and our personal liberties.
But in this case, he is actually endangering hundreds of people if he is actually a carrier.
Understandable. Here's an interesting piece of tape. We see people here apparently attacking a police officer. Let's look at the pictures. That police officer looks like he's being attacked. Then I think we hear shots or something fired, and he's pushed back away from the step. Here, let's take a listen to it real quick, Christy. Listen. you hear that?
Yeah.
It sounds like gunfire. I don't know. Is it?
He's shooting up into the air because of the mass chaos. So what we believe is happening here is that all the entrances to the residential building is being blocked, and the residents are now protesting this. The reason for this is, again, the quarantine and the confinement. Right now, there have been instigated a mandate that all the resident buildings are quarantined to one single entrance and exit point, which means that all residents of the buildings cannot exit unless they get a time-stamped mark saying that, hey, I am allowed to exit this building at this certain time in order to get groceries, to get essentials. Otherwise, I have to be quarantined.
Complete community control of every single citizen as they leave, egress, regress, everything.
Yes, they're blocking every single entrance. So imagine like a 100-building apartment high-rise. Every single exit and entrance has been sealed off, save one.
Finally, a lady, let's look at this video. It looks to me like she's a woman. She gets really frustrated, and now she gets in her car. Police have sent up a detention camp there to monitor people. She's going to drive it right into the tent. Watch this. Watch this. She's going to drive the thing right into the tent, as Michelle had shown us before. What do you know about this, Christy?
So we would believe this is a medical tent, and this is actually one of the many checkpoints erected around the city. Again, there are many checkpoints to measure take people's temperature, see if they've developed a fever or not, hand sanitizer checkpoints, and also safety checkpoints that if you had passed all these previous checkpoints, they give you a sticker, you sign your name, you have to date to say that, hey, I have been checked, I am safe at this certain time and date. So it seems that this person is frustrated by the many checkpoints and is unable to get to her certain destination.
It's amazing.
And people are all on a tight fuse here.
Yeah, well, I imagine they would be, as we would be too. In fact, let me ask you, China's already a very rule-oriented society, but now it appears it's going through this period of even having to deal with more rules. Do you think the Chinese populace is more apt or less apt than we here as Americans if we had to deal with something like this?
They are absolutely more apt in saying that if this is for the good of the country, the good of the people, the good of the public, then we will all individually contribute in order to further the greater cause. And right now, the bigger cause is to stop the spread of coronavirus. So even though they have to be locked up, they have to be quarantined, self-quarantined, go through all these checkpoints, they're willing to go through it because it is a public good. Otherwise, in America, if you have to be quarantined to your apartment, I don't think anybody here in America will agree to that because that's a violation of so many freedoms that we kind of take for granted.
I think you're onto something there. I think it would be a little more constricting, a little more difficult for us, and that's why we're asking these questions, because what if we had to deal with these things? Christy, as usual, you're wonderful, you're smart. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.